guys, Tiffany here from Tiffany Gordon Cosplay with 10 tips and tricks to help you with cutting EVA foam. Tip number 1, always have sharp blades. You will know if your blade is dull and needs to be replaced or sharpened if the blade will not pierce through your EVA foam all the way, or if it comes apart and you have a fluffy-like edge. And if it is dull, you can sharpen it with a piece of sandpaper. I typically use 220 grit, and then following the same angle of your blade, you want to drag it across the sandpaper back and forth a few times, and this should sharpen it. This will work for both a box cutter and an X-Acto blade. But personally, for X-Acto knives, I just change out the blade because I have a ton of them. But for the box cutter, I'll pretty much sharpen it, and then after a while, I'll either replace the blade or I will remove the top part of the blade. Reminder, always wear safety glasses. Number 2, your cutting mat. When cutting EVA foam, you will always want to have a cutting mat underneath your foam that you are cutting. Also, you will want your mat to be clean. So try to avoid using glue on your cutting mat and only use it for cutting. Also with your cutting mat, if you have used it for a very long time and there are really deep cuts, the actual mat itself, you may want to replace because this actually is going to slowly dull your blade even more and cause issues with cutting your foam. Tip number 3, use the correct blade for the job. For cutting EVA foam, you can use a box cutter, an X-Acto knife, you can use a rotary tool, all of these will work. But each one of these work best for certain thicknesses of EVA foam. For instance, 2mm EVA foam, you can use all of these with it, including the rotary tool. And it's pretty easy as long as you have a sharp blade. But for 4mm to 8mm EVA foam, it's best to use an X-Acto knife or a box cutter. And for really thick EVA foam of 10mm and higher, you will want to use a box cutter and you will want to apply force when piercing through the EVA foam. Most of the time your X-Acto blade will not pierce all the way through and will become dull a lot faster. Tip number 4, use a heavy ruler. Small rulers are fine for using for doing small little traces, but not very good for staying still when you're trying to cut a straight line. Same can be said with long rulers that are really thin and wobbly. These will be good for doing a straight line somewhat, but normally you need to put weights on either side, and it's really easy for these to move while trying to cut a straight line with an X-Acto knife. And the best type of rulers, in my opinion, are those that are more heavy duty. Typically will have a part for you to hold and a grip so it doesn't slide underneath it. And my 2 favorite are this clear one as well as the Costools ruler. And the Costools ruler is really my go-to just because it's long, it doesn't move whatsoever, and it's good for using as a weight as well. Tip number 5, cutting a channel to bend your foam. This is a fun little trick that you can do with one piece of EVA foam where you will put a line down the center as a guideline and then get your X-Acto knife and cut at a slight 45, only piercing halfway through your foam on either side. And then once it is cut, you can remove the centerpiece and then you can bend your one piece of foam so it has a nice sharp angle on the other side without having to cut 2 pieces in sand. And it will save you a lot of time in the end. Tip number 6, mirror your patterns. This is especially important with thicker EVA foam because if you're like me and when you cut your foam, it's never straight up and down, and typically the bottom is either smaller or wider. If you mirror your pattern, then you'll have the same on both sides. Tip number 7, trace your pattern first and cut it out after. This may seem like a bit of extra work, but it's going to give you a lot more cleaner results in the end by tracing your pattern onto your foam, removing the pattern, and cutting it after. Where if you were just to tape your pattern onto the EVA foam and then try to cut it out, you are really likely to accidentally hit your pattern, which is going to cause the whole thing to shift, also rip your pattern, and it's going to change the result of your EVA foam. Also, a little tidbit for your small pieces, instead of tracing your small pattern onto the EVA foam, trace the negative section instead. Tip number 8, cutting details and using a heat gun. This is where you use your blade and pierce the EVA foam halfway through, and afterwards you can use a heat gun and put it over your cutout section, and this is actually going to open up those channels. Tip number 9, use your box cutter for carving. If you have to have your EVA foam at a certain angle and you are going to have to sand it, it is best to carve out that section as much as possible first. This is going to prevent you from having so much cleanup work at your workbench for sanding, and it's going to be a lot less messy with foam dust everywhere. And tip number 10, cutting circles. And don't be like me and cut circles by hand for many years. Invest in specific circle cutting tools for foam. These are the Costools hole drill kit that comes in 3 different sizes. They're really easy to use. You just switch out which size you want and then twist them into the EVA foam, and then it will cut your circle to the size that you want of these 3, and then use the little button and it'll pop it out. And if you want to be even more fancy with these, you can cut out the center of one of your circles and make little grommets and jump rings. But you must also be thinking, these would be great if they were in larger sizes. Well, Costools also has a circle cutter that will go up to, I believe, 6 inches, and I also use these quite a bit. And that is my 10 tips and tricks for helping you cut out EVA foam. I hope you found this video helpful, and if so, let me know in the comments, like the video, and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you for our next video. Much love, guys! Mwah!